Hello, I'm Linda K. Foran, and I'm a doctoral fellow and doctoral student at Eastern Michigan University. I completed a qualitative narrative study on principals' perceptions of the implementation of a Michigan-mandated teacher evaluation model. Throughout the presentation, I've included quotes to provide insight into the principal's perceptions and the internal challenges each principal faces. Powerless in the process. Yep, I'm frustrated because it seems like it was a mandate given by the state, which was received by our central office and then a mandate given to us as building principals. Pretty much, here's the problem, figure it out. Develop a new tool, develop a new process, find time to get it done. Break. Patrick. Yes, our district wants to be on the cutting edge. We don't want to be told what to do. We also recognize that the state of Michigan has given us a mandate that you will do it. Oh, by the way, we don't have anything for you to use, but you will use it as soon as we have it. Nick. I am trying. You hear that the state laws are changing and it's not. And I'm new. There is a lack of trust, which I totally get. Tracy. The Michigan School Reform Law, passed by the Michigan Legislature in 2009, addresses the new responsibilities assigned to school districts and the Michigan Department of Education with the goal of increasing student achievement. Districts are now required to conduct annual educator evaluations using data collected from student academic growth. The tenure law, passed in 2011, impacts how teachers will earn tenure and retain their teaching position. Teacher evaluations will be labeled with highly effective to ineffective ratings. The state law indicates that districts must use student achievement growth as a significant factor in educator evaluations. However, the state law does not specify the use of state-provided growth data only. This means that districts can and should use both the state-provided measures from assessment data as well as locally determined measures of student growth. This could include growth on local assessments or perhaps more qualitative measures of growth such as portfolio assessments or other indicators. Regardless, evaluations will have a direct impact on teacher tenure, merit pay, and career longevity. The Michigan Council of Educator Effectiveness, previously called the Governor's Council of Educator Effectiveness, established in June 2011 as part of Michigan's teacher tenure legislative reform. This small council with 5 voting members has the responsibility of developing a fair, transparent, and feasible evaluation system for teachers and school administrators. They will send a recommendation to the Michigan legislature, who will then determine the final model. The evaluation model was to be identified in April of 2012, but the deadline passed with no report. Finally, in the late summer of 2012, a decision was made to pilot 4 evaluation models in the 2012-2013 school year. The 4 evaluation models were implemented in 13 different school districts: Charlotte Danielson's Framework for Teaching, Marzano's Teacher Evaluation Model, 5 Dimensions of Teaching and Learning, and the Thoughtful Classroom. I think the state had good intentions. You know, we can't have people who are not effective in their jobs. Tracy. The MCEE has come out with some recommendations they will send to the Michigan legislature. The first has to do with the fact the evaluation tool, the pilot, will be completed in May or June of 2013. The Michigan Council also is selecting a form of high-stakes testing called a value-added model. It focuses on student learning, articulates teacher professional development needs, and attaches the contribution of the teacher towards student achievement, thereby determining teacher effectiveness. The MCEE has researched and recruited 4 national value-added model vendors to demonstrate the deliverables they could provide Michigan under a contract. The MCEE, in their February 18, 2013 report, hopes to recommend that the first year of implementation, which would be 2013-14, will have a focus on training using the new evaluation model. Principals in Michigan must 1. Use a state or school district model approved by the state evaluation tool. 2. They must consider the validity of assessments attached to a specific teacher, including a value-added model. And 3. They must find time to evaluate all the teachers. Remember, they need to evaluate all teachers every year. By 2013-14, student growth will count for 25% of the teacher evaluation. The following 2 years, the percentage will increase 40% and then 50% for the teacher evaluation. This has led to a qualitative narrative study. 4 principals were interviewed to discover their perceptions of the process driving implementation of this mandatory evaluation model. The impact of this ever-changing mandate has not been addressed, and principals' perceptions through this interview process are enlightening. Who was interviewed? First, all names listed are pseudonyms for the principals' real names. Nick has 14 years' experience as a middle school administrator and is working in a district using one of the evaluation pilots. Marilyn and Patrick are elementary principals and have been working 12 and 8 years respectively. Tracy is in her 2nd year as a middle school principal. All 4 principals are between 38 and 47 years of age and appear to still have retained a passion for their role as a building leader. Are we bucking the system that they're trying to put in place? Probably some people are. Will I mark someone ineffective if I really think they are? Yeah, but I hope I've had enough conversation with them that they get that. Tracy. If your door is closed, I will open it and I will walk in. Now they're used to it, but they said it freaked them out. And I said, yeah, I am doing it to check up on you because that is my job. Marilyn. The interview. All 4 interviews took place at the principal's office with the school door closed to assure privacy. 2 interviews took place with the principal sitting behind a desk, and 2 took place sitting at a small table. The interviews began with open-ended questions and transitioned into semi-structured questions as the interview progressed. Each interview took at least 2 hours, and an unintended benefit was I was able to leave school buildings with artifacts. Several words kept reappearing throughout our interviews. The first is frustrated. For example, how does a principal define effectiveness? What does effectiveness look like? They have a very heavy workload. They're struggling to understand the process, and they're struggling to maintain balance and positive educational climate. And finally, it's all leading to stress. Edie, in 2000, in her study focusing on the emotions of educational leadership, reports that leaders who feel the pressure to succeed but have to function without support find the leadership role emotionally difficult. She continues, quote, "These leaders reported feeling resentment and frustration when being controlled and limited from above. They suffered for lack of their own empowerment." Glanz, in 2007, clarifies the concerns of all 4 principals when he notes that practitioners may feel disempowered due to a heavy workload and would prefer to work with individuals or small groups of teachers within a school. A study on stress completed by Camry in 2004 found 3 characteristics: decreased productivity, difficulty focusing on job assignments, and increased irritability. It's just going to be an assembly line. Patrick. It's really starting to, tick me off a little. It's like, really? Get out of my school. That's kind of like what I feel. Marilyn. All four principals are coping with stress in different ways. For Patrick, he's running behind on his evaluations. He's almost 4 months behind the other three. Tracy is using excessive use of staff development. She's working with her teachers before school, after school, during school, and at staff meetings. And her teachers are feeling overwhelmed. Nick, whose school is piloting one of the models, has discovered that the model is too labor-intensive and too time-consuming, even with the support of trainers. And Marilyn is pushing her staff to comply with mandates, even if they don't want to be pushed. This leads to our third and final theme. A problem with leadership roles. The four principals are now forced to find a balance in their managerial and instructional leadership roles. The instructional leader and building manager differ by responsibilities. A manager manages the budget, handles discipline, meets with parents, meets with ancillary staff, and even might supervise the lunchroom. Managers are concerned with how smoothly the building is running. The instructional leader is concerned with what and how the curriculum is presented and assessed for the students. This involves observations, walkthroughs, staff development, and participation in professional learning communities. One thing that came clear through the interviews: the more experienced a principal was, the less they were able to suffer from deciding how to balance the roles. I was hired to be an instructional leader, and please understand that. We will be learning. What's next? First, a pilot will be completed in May and June of 2013. A report of recommendations from the MCEE will be presented to the legislature in June 2013. Then it's up to the Michigan legislature to decide how they're going to do the evaluation model implementation. And that includes a timeline. The value of understanding the principal's perceptions may lead to additional studies on the impact of disempowerment, stress, and role definition as it relates to administrative effectiveness and career longevity. Thank you. My name is Linda Foran, and I wish to thank you for viewing my qualitative research project.